Jailhouse Rock. In 1957, Jailhouse Rock gave Elvis Presley a rare chance to prove he was more than just a chart-dominating singer. As Vince Everett, a former convict turned reluctant star, Presley delivered a performance that critics at the time called more intense and emotionally grounded than anything he'd done before. While Love Me Tender marked his film debut, and later titles like King Creole and Flaming Star would draw praise for his acting range, Jailhouse Rock remains one of the earliest films where critics began to take his screen presence seriously. Contemporary reviews noted his raw charisma and how naturally he embodied the role's rebellious edge, an edge that mirrored his own public persona. Some film historians argue that this fusion of character and celebrity made the performance more impactful than technically stronger roles he'd play later. Behind the scenes, choreographer Alex Romero mapped out the famous prison dance sequence, but Presley reportedly improvised much of it, moving with a looseness and rhythm that felt unscripted and electric. Rumors even suggest that Presley's spontaneity during filming surprised the crew so much, they decided to keep rolling without interruption. That scene alone became so iconic, the film was later added to the National Film Registry for its cultural significance. While debate continues over whether Jailhouse Rock, King Creole, or Flaming Star represents Presley's peak as an actor, this film undeniably captured a moment where music, rebellion, and cinema collided, and Elvis stood right at the center of it. Wild in the Country. In 1961, Elvis Presley took an unexpected detour from his usual screen persona in Wild in the Country. Cast as Glenn Tyler, a young man grappling with emotional trauma and a hidden literary gift, Presley stepped into a role that demanded more than charm or charisma. Adapted from J.R. Salamanca's novel, The Lost Country, the film dove into themes Presley rarely explored: mental health, family dysfunction, and personal redemption. Critics were taken aback. While Variety didn't offer a glowing review, it acknowledged his performance as a notable shift, calling it more restrained and sincere than his previous efforts. The screenplay's dramatic tone was initially shaped by famed playwright Clifford Odets, but he passed away before completing the script. Director Philip Dunn stepped in to finish it, though some believe Odets' fingerprints remain in the film's psychological undercurrents. That creative tug-of-war may explain the film's unusual emotional depth. Co-star Hope Lang later reflected on Presley's serious approach to the role, describing him as deeply committed during the film's most intense moments. The film's limited number of songs, just 4, left some fans bewildered. Audiences expecting the usual musical spectacle were met with a moody, introspective drama. Its box office performance was modest, and some speculated that the darker tone and lack of musical numbers alienated Presley's core fanbase. Still, the gamble earned him rare praise from major outlets. The New York Times noted that Presley offered a glimpse of the serious actor he might have become under different circumstances. Over time, Wild in the Country has gained a quiet cult following. Film historians often cite it as one of the few projects where Presley was allowed to act rather than simply perform. Some even speculate that had the film been a commercial hit, it might have redirected the arc of his acting career entirely. Flaming Star. In 1960's Flaming Star, Elvis Presley veered away from his glittering jukebox persona to explore far more conflicted territory. As Pacer Burton, the son of a white settler and a Kiowa woman, Presley stepped into a character split between worlds, culturally, emotionally, and morally. Directed by Don Siegel, known for his unvarnished approach to storytelling, the film abandoned the polished musical interludes that had defined Presley's earlier roles. Instead, it dove into the tensions between indigenous identity and American expansionism, making it one of the rare mainstream films of the era to directly engage with racial duality and frontier assimilation. Critics, caught off guard, responded with cautious respect. Variety praised the unexpected subtlety in Presley's performance, noting his subdued delivery and refusal to lean on star charisma. Biographers and film historians have long credited Don Siegel with that transformation. On set, Siegel reportedly insisted on multiple takes, stripping away Presley's showbiz instincts to reach something more raw. What emerged was a portrait of inner conflict, Pacer as a man carrying the burden of being two things at once, fully belonging to neither. Peter Guralnick, Presley's most authoritative biographer, later described Flaming Star as one of the few moments when the performer's artistic ambition aligned with opportunity. Presley, still in the early years of his film career, allegedly saw this role as a stepping stone toward dramatic legitimacy. Yet despite critical acknowledgement, the film's box office numbers were underwhelming. Studio executives, wary of deviating too far from the proven musical template, quickly steered him back towards safer terrain. Within a year, he was back in glossy Technicolor musicals, more soundtrack than substance. Still, in hindsight, Flaming Star holds a distinct place in the Presley cinematic arc. It's often cited as evidence of a path not taken, a version of Elvis that might have emerged if studios had valued his seriousness over his sales. Pacer Burton, caught between bloodlines and allegiance, remains one of Presley's most nuanced characters, a glimpse at a performer who is capable of more than charm and chorus. As Golden Age development arcs go, Flaming Star stands as one of the boldest departures by a box office titan. Loving You. In July of 1957, Elvis Presley took on his first major starring role in Loving You, a musical drama with a storyline that hit unusually close to home. Playing Deke Rivers, a delivery man catapulted into fame, Presley mirrored his own rise from Memphis obscurity to national obsession. The film's director, Hal Cantor, reportedly urged Presley to draw from personal experience, aiming to tap into something more authentic than the typical teen idol performance. While some critics remained skeptical, many noted his natural screen presence and surprising emotional depth. Variety and other outlets praised his charisma, with some reviews calling the performance a turning point. Interestingly, Presley's mother, Gladys, appeared briefly in the film during a concert scene, her only on-screen moment with her son. That cameo, according to several Presley biographers, gave the project deep personal significance for the family. The soundtrack's lead single, Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear, topped the Billboard Top 100, back when the Hot 100 didn't yet exist, further proving Elvis wasn't just a chart-topping singer, but a bankable film star. Though later roles veered into formulaic territory, Loving You remains one of the few films where critics and fans agreed Elvis could act. Some even speculate that if he had pursued more dramatic material earlier, his Hollywood legacy might have looked very different. Charro. In 1969, Elvis Presley made his boldest pivot yet with Charro, a no-frills western that ditched the music, the glam, and the signature hip moves. It remains the only film in his career where he didn't sing on screen, though his voice still opens the movie in the title track. Presley took on the role of Jess Wade, a former outlaw framed for stealing a cannon from the Mexican army. Gone were the beachside romances and musical montages. Instead, audiences saw a rugged, bearded Presley navigating a world of betrayal and gunfire. Directed by Charles Marquise Warren, best known for shaping television westerns like Gunsmoke and Rawhide, Charro leaned into a more serious tone. Warren reportedly urged Presley to act with restraint, favoring subtle expressions over theatrical charm. Critics later described the shift as Presley acting with his eyes instead of his hips, capturing the film's attempt to showcase a deeper, more internal performance. While reviews at the time were lukewarm, Variety labeled it routine. Some modern critics have reevaluated Presley's work. Film historian Leonard Maltin noted that Presley delivered a credible performance, a rare compliment for a star often dismissed for his acting. Fans have also developed a cult appreciation for the film's gritty aesthetic and stripped-down approach. Speculation has long swirled that Charro was part of a quiet campaign by Presley's management to rebrand his image as box office returns for his musical comedies began to dip. Though the film didn't ignite a dramatic career shift, it remains one of the few times Presley was taken seriously as an actor, and not just as the king of rock and roll. Follow That Dream. In 1962's Follow That Dream, Elvis Presley took a rare detour from his usual on-screen persona, and critics noticed. As Toby Quimper, a naive but principled drifter, Presley stepped into full-blown comedy, delivering what some film historians consider one of his most naturalistic performances. The role gave him space to drop the guitar and lean into character work, especially in courtroom scenes that showcase sharp timing and deadpan delivery. The film's plot, centered on a family staking claim to a Florida highway median, sounds absurd on paper. Yet Presley's grounded approach turned it into something oddly sincere. Some reviewers at the time were caught off guard, calling it one of his most likable roles, and decades later it's still being reevaluated. While Follow That Dream didn't dominate the box office, it's climbed in critical esteem. Elvis Infonet even ranks it as his top acting performance, noting that comedy in his filmography is often underrated. Rumors have circulated that Presley himself favored this role, seeing it as a break from the formulaic scripts he was often handed. Whether or not that's true, what's clear is that Toby Quimper wasn't just another Elvis character. He was a glimpse of what Presley might have achieved with more roles that let him stretch. Kid Galahad. In 1962's Kid Galahad, Elvis Presley set down the guitar and laced up a pair of boxing gloves, trading melodies for jabs and hooks. Cast as Walter Gulick, a soft-spoken ex-GI who stumbles into the bruising world of prize fighting, Presley stepped into a character with more grit than glam. The film, a remake of the 1937 Edward G. Robinson and Bette Davis original, offered Presley a rare vehicle for dramatic reinvention. Under the direction of Phil Carlson, known for his hard-boiled crime dramas, the movie moved away from Presley's usual musical escapism and leaned into themes of ambition, loyalty, and redemption. Presley didn't just play a boxer, he trained like one. To prepare for the role, he reportedly worked with real fighters to perfect his stance and rhythm, determined to bring authenticity to the ring. That effort showed in the film's more grounded tone and believable action choreography. Insiders later suggested that Elvis viewed Kid Galahad as a quiet rebellion against Colonel Tom Parker's control. While Presley still delivered a few musical numbers per studio mandate, the film's core was built around character and conflict rather than spectacle and serenade. The story itself, an underdog rising through sheer heart and determination, mirrored Presley's own creative tension in Hollywood. Walter Gulick, like Elvis, was caught between what he wanted to become and what others expected him to be. The character's humility and perseverance offered a glimpse into a performer eager to be taken seriously, even as he remained boxed in by commercial demands. Some critics, while lukewarm about the overall film, singled out Presley's sincerity, noting that his toned-down performance hinted at untapped depth. Though Kid Galahad wasn't a box office sensation, it has since become a quiet standout in Presley's filmography. Modern retrospectives often place it alongside Flaming Star as one of his most grounded and believable roles. The boxing scenes retain a rugged charm, and the absence of over-the-top theatrics gave audiences a rare view of Presley playing it straight. It stands today as one of the stronger attempts to pivot him into more serious dramatic territory. Proof if fleeting that beneath the icon was an actor who wanted more than just the spotlight. Rouseabout. Rouseabout, released in 1964, marked a slight departure from the polished Elvis formula, placing Presley in the role of Charlie Rogers, a drifting biker who finds work with a traveling carnival. While still a musical at heart, the film flirted with darker themes, alienation, rebellion, and the desire to belong. It wasn't a radical reinvention, but fans and some later critics noticed a flicker of dramatic potential in Presley's performance. Barbara Stanwyck, cast as carnival boss Maggie Morgan, brought gravitas to the production. Industry chatter at the time suggested she respected Presley's discipline on set. Some biographers have speculated that their mentor-protege dynamic off-screen lent authenticity to their tense but layered on-screen chemistry. Though contemporary reviews leaned more on the film's soundtrack, particularly the standout track Little Egypt, than its acting, Rouseabout has since been re-evaluated by fans as one of Presley's more serious efforts. It wasn't his most acclaimed performance, but it hinted at what might have been possible had more of his films offered him space to explore beyond the established formula. King Creole. Few expected a rock and roll star to hold his own in a gritty drama, but in 1958's King Creole, Elvis Presley did just that. Directed by Michael Curtiz, yes, the same Curtiz behind Casablanca, the film gave Presley a rare shot at serious acting. Set against the moody backdrop of New Orleans, Presley played Danny Fisher, a troubled teen torn between nightclub fame and a life of crime. This wasn't just another musical, it was a noir-infused drama with enough bite to catch critics off guard. While not his first film, it marked a turning point. Presley reportedly took the role seriously, drawing on his own hardscrabble upbringing in Memphis to ground the character in real emotion. Some insiders even speculated that Curtiz saw potential for Presley to follow in the footsteps of James Dean had he continued down this dramatic path. Though the film came early in Presley's Hollywood run, it stood apart from the formulaic musicals that would later define much of his career. Critics praised his restraint, and fans saw a side of Presley rarely captured on screen. While there's no verified quote from Walter Matthau, who co-starred as the villain, Rumors have long circulated that Matthau privately respected Presley's work ethic on set. King Creole remains one of the few times Presley's acting was taken seriously by both audiences and reviewers, and it still ranks near the top in retrospectives of his best performances. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. Also consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our new videos each week. Thanks for watching.